Well, it seems that the sun is spending a little bit more time in the sky lately, and the temperature today got up to a balmy 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 10 degrees centigrade or Celsius. I don't know what the current term is. And so, yeah, we're happy about that. For those of my friends in the Southern Hemisphere, I'm sorry that your summer is starting to wind down, but your turn, you know? So join me with a tasty beverage of your choice close to hand while we take a look at some more Hoya updates. Part 2. And the first Hoya celebrating 1 year here this month is my Hoya leucantha. Now, Hoya leucantha is native to New Guinea, and from what I've been able to find out, most of it seems to have been collected on the western half of the island, which is in the country of Indonesia. It was collected in 1912, 1913 by Cecil Bowden Kloss in the Papua province, and was published in 1916 in Transactions of the Linnean Society of London by Spencer Marchand Moore. And leucantha means white flowered. So that's where the name comes from. I have not seen the flowers yet, but I'm kind of okay with that yet because I love the look of these leaves and the way this thing is growing. I mean, that's 1.5 feet or 30, 45 centimeters, somewhere in that range. The leaves are very, very pretty, and I will put close-ups of them. I like the internodal spacing on this branch is really cool. This branch seems to have a much longer internodal spacing, probably because it would love to find something to climb. But we're going to work with this. Right now, I have it sitting, it grows over here. It grows on the edge, so this stuff cascades off nicely of one of my grow stations under my Sansi grow lights. And it's doing okay. I should have a picture over here of what it looked like when it first arrived. And I'm pleased. I think it's done really, really well. This spring, it has started to go crazy as the temperatures have evened out a bit more and are consistently warmer. So that's very cool. I just love the look of that. That whole, yeah. This has been very, very easy. There's one long vine over here that's like, easily 2 feet long. This has done very, very well. It's been very easy, no trauma, no drama, no difficulties. It's branched a couple of times, which seems to be the nature for this Hoya. And it's just done really neat. The leaves are definitely lanceolate. They have a slightly recessed central rib, and they are measuring about 2.5 or 6.5 centimeters. See if there's anything. Yeah, 2.5 or 6.5 centimeters long and about 3/4 of an inch or 2 centimeters wide. They come in kind of this, let's see if I can find a good, interesting kind of green mahogany color, and then harden off to this nice medium green. So it's under decent light. It's not super bright, but it is under grow lights or in the immediate fallouts from grow lights. And it seems to be liking that. Yeah, and so no problems. No trauma, no drama. This has been really well. It's done well for me. So yeah, I'm pleased with this one. I can't, it's been good. It'd be interesting to see it in bloom, but that hasn't happened yet, so I have to learn to be patient. Not something I'm necessarily good at, but. This one came from the Hoya Habit on Etsy, and this beautiful little plant is my Hoya leucantha. And the next one up that's been here for a year is an unnamed Oreosparte. Now, Oreosparte as a genus is native to Malaya, Sabah, and Sarawak in Malaysia, and to Kalimantan and Sulawesi in Indonesia. It was first published in 1916 in Bei Hefte zum Botanischen Zentralblatt, Abteilung 2, Systematik, Pflanzengeographie, Angewandte Botanik, which is the supplements to the Botanical Central Journal, Section 2, Systematics, Plant Geography, and Applied Botany. And it was published by Friedrich Richard Rudolf Schlechter. And this is the second one of these I have. I had one that I bought a few years ago, and I was in discussion with the folks at North Austin Plant Company, and they sent me along a cutting of another one, just as a nice little gesture. And this has done really, really well. I may have a picture over here of what it looked like when it first arrived, but it was a cutting, and it has put out all this new growth, and this is easily 2 feet or about 60 centimeters. This is new growth. There's a branch here, 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 and here. It's done very, very well, and it's ready to move into its long-term residence. Let's see if I can get this out of here. It's currently, whoop, don't do that. Everybody stay where they are. Keep calm. There we go. Okay. So it's currently living in a net pot, in a cover pot, and it's in a pumice and pond mixture. There are no roots yet coming out of the bottom, but with all this growth, I'm pretty sure there's a decent root structure in there, and it's time for it to move to a longer-term home. So, as a matter of fact, this is after 1 year. The other one I have has been here 2 years. And this is the one that's been here 2 years. But we're not talking about him today. We're talking about the other one. But this is what, once it gets settled, and this is like insane. So, no, okay, behave now. Yeah, this one lives in ambient conditions. So right now, today, the temperature in here is 74 degrees Fahrenheit, which is, oh, now you take the time to, there we go. 21.6 degrees centigrade. And the humidity in here is about 45%. And it's been like 45 to 50% most of the winter. So yeah, that's been okay, and it's doing fine. Now, this is sometimes sold as Papua Hoya species 01. It's not a Papua Hoya, it is an Oreosparte. And folks at North Austin Plant Company sent me the dissection photos of the blossoms to show that it was indeed an Oreosparte, not a Papua Hoya. It's just done really, really well. This is a great little plant. If you like the little leaf plants, then it's worth keeping your eyes open for one of these. Do not pay a lot of money for it. There's no reason for these to be expensive because they grow like crazy and they root very easily. So yeah, this is not like it's, everything on Etsy is listed as rare, but these may be uncommon, but they're not difficult to propagate. The leaves are just gorgeous. The leaves are fuzzy. The petioles are fuzzy. The vines are fuzzy. Everything on this is fuzzy. And I should have photos of what these cute little fuzzy leaves look like. But yeah, really, really happy with this one. It has done so well. This is one of my favorite plants, both of them, just because they do, there's no trauma, there's no drama. They just do well. I think they would do well in an organic mix, but I think self-watering is going to be an important factor in their success. But yeah, if you're looking for something a little different, and Oreosparte is a Hoya cousin. It's also cousin to Dischidia. So If you can grow Hoya and dischidia, you can definitely grow one of these. They're kind of fun. I think they would look great trailing. I think they would look great climbing. I may consider doing this as a trailing plant just to see where that goes. And I think I have a spot on the bookcase in the living room, but we'll see. It's just really cool. Very happy it's been here. This cutting, well, now he's kind of a big boy, came from the North Austin Plant Company, and you can find them on Palm Street. And this is Oreosparte species. And the next one that's been here for a year is my Hoya biruensis. Now, Hoya biruensis is native to Kalimantan in Indonesia, and it was found in Bukit Biru, hence the name biruensis ensis. And when you see it in these Latin names, it means from the place of or the place of. So this is from Biru. If I remember correctly, Bukit means hill, so it's Biru Hill in West Kalimantan. It was first published in 2025 in the Nordic Journal of Botany by Michaela Rhoda and Sri Rahayu. And before it was officially published, this plant was known as species affinity Spartioides. And you can kind of see why. But it is different from a Spartioides in that on Spartioides, every one of the, quote, leaves are actually peduncles, then blossoms form at the end. But biruensis has what to my eye are distinct leaves and distinct peduncles. And I'll put pictures of them both over here so you can sort of see the difference. This one is in bloom right now, and I will have close-ups of the blooms somewhere in this whole thing. They're very pretty. You'll notice that there's a little bit of red on them. The blooms seem to some sun stress. So the red appears on the top of the blossoms where it's been close to the light. And it currently lives down here on the bottom shelf, which may now be a little bit too much light for it. But the rest of the plant seems to appreciate that. Maybe it would darken up a bit if I moved it to a lower light level. And I need to rework a lot of these shelves this spring, summer when it warms, when it's consistently warm in the house, so I can take a lot of the plants out there and rework the shelves and reset the lighting and stuff like that. But this one is currently growing in a self-watering pot, and it looks like it's a mixture of pumice and pon. And it's got a little bit of a root system starting to come through. How are we doing we're doing okay, moisture-wise. And it just seems to do really well. Again, this one has one of those no trauma, no drama for me. Right now there are 3 blossoms open. There's a double one coming in here. There's another peduncle down here. So it apparently is somewhat happy with where it is. And I should have a picture of what it looked like when it first showed up over here. So you can see that it's actually done pretty well in just a year. I really, I like this one because it is different from most of my other Hoya. It's along the lines of a lot of those thread leaf ones, but this is just very, very cool. Very cool. This is neat. I'm glad I got this. And since it's only been officially published for a year, that's really nice. So yeah. This one came from North Austin Plant Company. You can find them on Palm Street. And this is Hoya biruensis. And another one-year resident here in the Hoya room is another Hoya cousin, and this is another Oreosparte, and this is Oreosparte sabahensis. Now, sabahensis is native to Sabah on the island of Borneo in Malaysia, and it was found near Tawau, the Morotai Canon. It was first collected in 2002 and published in 2020 in Wilde Neue Mitteilungen aus dem Botanischen Garten und Museum Berlin-Dahlem, or Messages from the Botanical Garden and Museum of Berlin-Dahlem. And this was published by Michaela Rhoda and Nathaniel Simonson. And this is very cool. This is very neat. The leaves, like the other Oreosparte, the leaves are fuzzy on the top, on the underside, on the petioles, on the vines, fuzzy everywhere. I should have a picture of what this looked like when it first showed up over here. And it was one long cutting. And I looked at it and there were a couple of nodes and I thought, I'm going to take the chance and divide it and see if I can root both of them. And they both rooted, not even an issue. So each one of these vines is one of the original cuttings. It's done really, really well. This has not been at all difficult. The leaves are running, let's take a look at this, approximately, let's say 2.5 or 6.5, 2.5 inches, 6.5 centimeters wide, and from petiole to tip, around 4 inches or 10 centimeters. And they all seem to be sizing up to that range. Some of the older established leaves are very firm, almost to the rigid category. There's a slightly recessed central rib and slightly recessed side ribs, and they are fuzzy. The vines themselves are kind of firm. No, not even kind of firm. They are firm, even on the new growth. So I don't think this would take readily to wrapping around a trellis, which gives me certain concerns because it's already 8 inches above the top of this trellis. But this is a scrap make do trellis. It's not even a full optimistic or half optimistic, half this way, not that. Anyway, it's not one of my taller tower trellises. Ooh, there's a tongue twister. Anyway, but it's doing very well. It currently lives over here on one of my shorter grow shelves. It is in the fallout from my Sansi grow lights, so it's getting decent amount of light. It looks a tad pale, so maybe it could use slightly less light, and I may tone those down a little bit. See if that helps. I'm finding that a lot of my Hoyas need less light than I originally thought they would. So that's why I'm thinking about reworking some of these shells. And oh my goodness, where are you? Look across the room and suddenly there's a Hoya vine going way out of nowhere, out into nowhere, and you're wondering where it's coming from. And it's one of my lacunoses that's going on an adventure. Anyway, back to sabahensis. This is done really well. It's been very, very simple. It has not bloomed for me yet. I'm wondering if the blooms are going to be more like the unnamed Oreosparte species, which had very much starfish-like white blossoms. That would be very pretty here, but I don't see any peduncles or anything that looked like we're going to get a blossom out of it soon. But it's growing. It's not been any difficulty. It seems to love the setup. It's in pond and self-watering. It's got a decent little root system. So it seems happy. Oof, no, that wasn't right. Okay, back in the right, there we go. Okay, it seems fairly happy with this setup. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna continue with. If you want something that's like a Hoya, but not quite a Hoya, that not a lot of people have, keep your eyes open for Oreosparte. This one also came from North Austin Plant Company, and this is Oreosparte sabahensis. next one, who's also been here for 3 years, is my Hoya mirabilis clone B. Now, Hoya mirabilis is native to Thailand, and it was first collected in 2011 near Ratchaburi, Thailand, by Manit Kidyu, and it was not published until 2012 in Natural Tropical History. And this is one of 2 Hoya mirabilis I have. The other one came without any descriptor, like clone A or clone B. It just labeled Hoya mirabilis. It lives back over here, and it's getting ready to bloom. It's doing very well. This one, I had it growing under much brighter light, and it didn't seem to like that. The leaves looked very washed out, and it just didn't seem happy. So I thought, okay, I'm going to move it to a lower light location. And so I moved it over here on this small table over here. And it's been doing okay, but I think it needs to be somewhere in between those 2 extremes, but those 2 ends of the spectrum. So I think it could use a little bit more light. But I love the look of those leaves. I just think they're really pretty. I like the structure of the way this looks tumbling down. This one currently has a few peduncles, like there's one there, and there's another one in there, and there's another one over here. It hasn't bloomed in a while. I don't think it was originally thrilled with the sudden reduction in light. And I'm not quite sure, as I said, I'm not quite sure that's enough light for it. So we might have to do a bit of finagling. But I'm going to give that a try. The leaves are very pretty. There's a little bit of splash in them. And I'll put some close-ups over here. There's a central rib that looks like it's slightly raised and some side veins that look like they're slightly raised. It's currently growing in generic pond and self-watering. And there's just the beginning of roots coming out the bottom and the side. So I think it may be, once it finds the wick and the reservoir, I think that's going to be what it really wants, because the nutrient solution seems to work really well for the plants. The other one I have going up, climbing. This one I have trailing, just because I thought I'd take a look and see which one looks better. And I like each one of them for different purposes, the way they look for different reasons. That one's just very cool. I have it growing up kind of a flat trellis, so the leaves do kind of hang out, but this trailing down looks kind of neat also. So it's going to be your call on that one. I may have pictures, I didn't check my files yet, of what mirabilis blooms look like, because it has bloomed for me. And if I do, they're going to be, you will have already seen them or are about to see them. This one's not been difficult. It's not been fussy at all. No trauma, no drama. This particular one has just been a little slow, but then my other one, who's been here longer, was really slow to start as well. But there's a whole painful story involved in that one, so I cut him a lot of slack. But yeah, this is a very cool little plant. It doesn't seem to be a rampant grower, but it does seem to be a good grower, and I think it's kind of pretty. So yeah, this nice little Hoya. If you like the small lanceolate leaves, you're going to be good with this. The leaves are firm, not terribly rigid, but don't go bending them, because that's a dumb thing to do to plant leaves. But this one came from Sproutique on Etsy, and this is Hoya mirabilis clone B. Also here for 3 years is the Hoya I love to whine about, and that's my Hoya Iris Marie. Now, Iris Marie is a hybrid of Hoya Kembra and Hoya Schnee, and it was created by David Little and named in honor of his spouse, Iris Marie Little. This plant has grown well enough for me, but I'm not really thrilled with it. It hasn't bloomed. It grows. The leaves are nothing to write home about. I mean, they are what they are. They're kind of plain green with a slightly recessed central rib. They're ranging around, 3 inches or 7¾ centimeters of petiole to tip, and about 1¼ inches or 2¾ centimeters side to side. The stems are sort of woody. And that's been it, you know. I've cut this one back, way back, and it put out new growth. Let's see what we're doing down below. It's got a fairly decent root system. There's some healthy looking new roots in there. It's got moisture, so we're okay. I've got it in pumice and, homemade pond. I didn't put any pumice in this one. And it's doing okay, but I'm just not thrilled with it. You know, it's kind of boring. So I think this summer what I'm going to do is cut it back and see if I can't turn it into more of a shrub than this vining thing, which is like going everywhere. And it's growing okay, you know. It's just boring. There's no sign of peduncles. There's no sign of much of anything except new growth, which is kind of kicked back up. It currently lives, and it's lived in a number of different places. It currently lives in my bedroom, pulled back from a west-facing window, so it gets a decent amount of light. Maybe it wants less light. I might try that this summer out on the porch, just to see if that makes any kind of difference. But yeah, nothing evil to say about it. It's not a horrible Hoya. It's just like, it hasn't impressed me. Meh, you know, meh. What can I say? You've heard me whine about this one lots of times, but so far nothing has changed. Yeah, it still is what it is. I hate that phrase, but you know, this is what it is. That's what you get. If you would like to try your hand at Hoya Iris Marie, I got mine from Logi's on their website. Actually, I went and got it in person, but I will include their website address. Not everyone is fortunate enough to live close to Logi's. And this is Hoya Iris Marie. And another one here for 3 years, and a favorite, is Hoya davidcummingii. Now, davidcummingii, the Hoya, is native to the Philippines and was first published in 1995 in Fraterna, Official Bulletin for the International Hoya Association by Robert Dale Kloppenberg. And I know it's not splashy, it's not flashy. Even if it were splashy and flashy, I don't think that would cause me to like it more, because it's just a nice green Hoya. The leaves feel kind of thick, which is fine. Under good light, they have darker margins. And it grows very well for me. It's fairly forgiving, although it's slow to forgive. It holds a bit of a grudge, but it will forgive you and bounce back. But the reason we love it, or the reason I love it, is the blossoms. And I'll drop in pictures over here of the blossoms. And they are pretty. They are a little in your face in terms of color, but it's the scent. It's the scent. It's that rich caramel scent. And the first time this bloomed, I couldn't even see the blooms because they were underneath the leaves and the vines, but I could smell it. And the first evening, I kept catching a whiff of caramel and it's a heavy caramel scent. Every time I walked past the Hoya room, it's like, And that was with the door closed. Every time I walked by, it was like, what is that? What is that? So I finally came in the next evening and really sniffed, literally like a bloodhound sniffing around, and followed it to where this plant was. And that's when I saw the blooms. I love this plant. I love the scent. So I've got a peduncle getting ready to bloom in there. Another one here. There's another one down here. And I thought I noticed one. Oh, there's one more over here on the side. And this is one of the parents to Hoya nuna, which is what encouraged me to get my Hoya nuna. And it's doing as well. And if you saw them side by side, you'd see the relation. You're like, oh yeah, they're related somehow. But this is done really well. It's currently growing in self-watering pot with my generic pond mix. It's got a decent little root structure in there. Get back in there and not crush anybody. Okay. Is everybody happy now? All right. And it grows under bright indirect, but on the upper end of that, it's growing on this grow shelf set up over here, but off to the side. So it's not directly under any of the grow bulbs, but it's off to the side of them. It seems to like that. As a matter of fact, it's been there since, I think since it showed up. I may have a picture of what it looked like over here if I was smart and did the things I'm supposed to do. But yeah, this is cool. It's not difficult. It lives in ambient. So whatever temperature it is in here, that's what it gets. It's not in a special cabinet. It blooms regularly, provided I keep the moisture level consistent, or make sure it has access to moisture as it needs. And it just has done well for me. No complaints, no difficulties. It did have spider mites when everybody else had flat mites. When everybody else had flat mites, but it got over that without any difficulty. So, yeah, I thought this is just a good one. The scent, the smell of the blossoms for me is a deal breaker. It's just like that tips the scale every time. I love that smell. So yeah, these shouldn't be difficult to find. They shouldn't be expensive. But if you're interested, keep your eye out for one. This came from Logis in Connecticut, and this is Hoya davidcummingii. Another 3-year resident here is my Hoya Caudata. And I can't quite hold it up and show it to you, and I'll explain in a bit. But this is the one that's often labeled Sumatra. This was originally found, Caudata that is, on peninsular Malaysia, in Malaya. And it's native to Thailand, southern Thailand, to Malaya, Sabah, and Sarawak in Malaysia, and to Sumatra in Indonesia, and to Singapore. And it was first published in 1883 in the Flora of British India by Joseph Dalton Hooker. And the name comes from the Latin word caudatus, which means tailed. And I'm going to drop in some pictures of a caudata bloom over here, and you can see the tails hanging out the bottom of it. That's how it got its name. The reason I can't hold it up and show it to you is because it lives down here. And while my back was turned, it decided to climb up the back trellis of this grow shelf. And it's about ready to bloom again. And I don't want to try and extricate it. So I'll show you, there'll be lots of close-ups and pictures of it interspersed along the way here. But yeah, I don't want to try and back it out of there because it's doing really, really well. It's also tied up with my Hoya fungi, which is also in bloom. But the two of them crisscrossed in the back of the grow shelves. So most of my grow shelf setups, I have 2 inch by 3 inch grid. What do they call it? Garden fencing, garden mesh. vertically on the back so I can hang things on that and keep things from actually getting bumped off the back side of that. So that's what it's all tangled up in, and I've got to get everything out of the front of it. And then when it's done blooming, I think I'm gonna cut it and get it out of there. But it's doing well there. My Caudata are divided. Half of them are growing in an organic mix, and half of them are growing in generic pon and probably maybe a little bit of pumice. They're all in self-watering pots. Now I have two Caudata Sumatra, one down here, and it is growing in front of one of these grow shelf setups. And the leaves on it are a beautiful dark green. Really, really beautiful. It loves, that light level is what it really likes. This one is growing under brighter light, and although you would not think they could, it appears that Caudata can get a little bit of sun stress because these leaves are much more of an olive green, and the splash in them stands out much more strongly. But yeah, and that's almost entirely due to light levels. I have another Caudata back here. That's my Caudata Gold, which you can see hiding back over here. And it's getting ready to bloom too. Yes, yes, very cool. And then one that's probably related to them, which is Hoya flagellata, and it lives down there. It seems to like the brighter light. It seems to be doing well there, but yeah, it's happy. I'm not going to mess with it. Although it might be part of my rearranging scheme at some point. Anyway, Hoya Caudata is not difficult. It wants regular access to moisture. The vines tend to be rather narrow and they tend to be woody, which means it's not storing a lot of moisture in the vines. The leaves tend to be thin and rather rigid, which means they're not storing much moisture in the leaves themselves. So it definitely wants regular access to moisture. It's not what you would call a succulent Hoya. Succulent with a lowercase s as an adjective. So yeah, it's a really pretty plant. It was one of the ones I didn't know if I was going to like it because I'd only seen it on the internet, on other people's videos, and I wasn't sure if I liked that whole prehistoric leaf look. It turns out I do, because I have that, and I have a Clemenciorum down here that's doing really well, and some other interesting plants. But when I opened that one up for the first time and saw it, it was like, yes, this is great. This is wonderful. So, yeah. I should have a picture over here of what it looked like when it first showed up. And it was a decent sized plant that I picked up from a nursery. And it's done really, really well. So I definitely recommend Caudata. It's just been, again, no trauma, no drama. It's just done really well. It's living in ambient conditions. It's not in a grow tent or a grow cabinet or anything. I don't have one of those. It's growing under grow lights over here, full spectrum grow lights. And it seems to like that setup. So yeah, we're going to stick with that. And it's been really good. This one also came from Logis. And the one I'm going to be showing you shortly is Hoya Caudata Sumatra. Question from the comments, and this one comes from SharesGear7202. It's regarding self-watering pots, and they ask, do I need to add a wick if it has a gauge and didn't come with one? I believe you fill it higher than the ones with a wick. Also, would you suggest pon or repotting to a chunky mix for first Hoya? So there's actually two questions in there. So we'll talk about self-watering pots first. Two-part self-watering pot, outer pot, inner pot, gauge, indicator, whatever, float, whatever thing you want to call it. Most of the inner pots for this type of self-watering pot will have legs that help support the bottom pot a specific distance from the bottom of the outer pot. Most of these have slots in them, which you may or not be able to see on this, and in most cases, those slots will be very narrow and it will be very difficult to fit a wick through there. Now, typically in the pot like this, I would use generic pon or pumice or a combination of the two. And the pon and or pumice will fall down into these little legs, and these will act as the wicks to help transfer moisture from the reservoir in the bottom of this up into the root mass. So you typically don't have to add a wick. If you're using an organic mix that's very, very chunky, it may be a good idea to add your own wick because the chunky mix may not fall down into these little legs effectively. So they won't function as well as a wick. So you may need to do that then. Typically, with these, when I get a new one that I haven't used before, I will assemble it and pour water in until the float indicates between the minimum and the maximum. And you'll notice that this has markings on it: minimum, maximum, optimum. In the case of this particular brand, when I fill it to the optimum setting, it reaches to the top of the legs and underneath the bottom of the pot. If I fill it to the maximum, it comes over the top of the bottom of the inner pot. So what I'll do, because most of mine in this type of pot are in pon or pumice, I will fill it to the optimum setting, the mid-level setting, and that will work fairly well. So whether or not you use a wick or add your own wick may depend upon the type of substrate you're using. If you're using pon or pumice, then you don't really need to add one. If you're using a really, really chunky mix and you're concerned that it might not fill down into these little legs and act as the wick, then you might want to add one of your own. So that's not really an answer, but those are the two options, two ways to approach it. These have worked fairly well for me. I have this style of self-watering pot in a couple different sizes. The other style doesn't have the legs or anything else. It hangs, on the rim, and it comes with its own wick. So that one you never have to add a wick to, and it works very well. These do as well. Now, suggest pon or repotting to a chunky mix for first Hoya. That's, for me, would depend upon what the first Hoya came in, what substrate it's in. If it came to you in a pon or pumice mixture, or either one individually, then I would keep it in that and simply lift the whole thing out and put it into its new self-watering pot, whichever style of self-watering pot you have. And then fill the rest in to the same level with whatever your inorganic mix is. If it came in a chunky organic mix, then I would probably keep it in a chunky organic mix if it has a fine root structure. If the root structure seems a little heavier and a little more resilient, then you could try removing some of that organic mixture to transfer it to pon. But that's a little scary for some people, and so if you're not comfortable doing that, just put some organic in here, add your new Hoya, fill it the rest of the way, and get in there with a chopstick or something, and get in there and work it all so it all settles in well. For you, if it's one of your first Hoyas, and that's what I would do, I would keep it in the same type of mix that it arrived in, unless it's a peat mix. If it's a peaty mix or looks like one, like cocoa peat or something like that, then what I would try and do is, number one, make sure it doesn't have a mesh plug around it. If it does, I would try and remove that. Number two, rather than trying to clean off all the roots from that peaty mix, what I would probably do is take it and soak it in room temperature water for a little bit and loosen up that peat mixture. And rinse, just by rinsing it back and forth in the pot of water, pan of water, bowl of water, try and loosen up as much of that peat mix and rinse it away. It's great for rooting plants, but it's not really good for long-term care. So once you've gotten that cleaned off, then you can settle it in your own organic mix. For the next couple of days, just give it little squirts. I use these lab bottles because you don't have to tip. The inside goes all the way to the bottom, so you just squeeze them. And I use them, and every couple of days I just give it a little squirt, because if you've moved it to any kind of pot, the roots are going to be up here. They're not going to be down here where the moisture is. So you want it to have a smooth transition. So every couple of days, just like a little squirt, 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 and it'll be fine. It'll help it. It'll make sure that there's always moisture available toward the top of the pot for growth. So yeah, you'll have to experiment to see which kind of self-watering pot works best for you and what kind of substrate works best for you. And there may be casualties along the way, and that doesn't mean you're a bad Hoya person or grower. It just means you're figuring out what's going to work best for you in your environment. So yeah, that's my thoughts on self-watering pots and wicks. And now the question for the comments. And thanks to everybody who took the time to respond to last week's question. It's always fun reading your thoughts, and you guys are really funny. You make me laugh. I haven't gotten back to all the comments yet, but I'm working on it, working my way through. So this is kind of for people in the Northern Hemisphere, but only because those of you in the Southern Hemisphere are still enjoying your summer and warm temperatures. And we're just starting up here. It may have been, 50 degrees outside today, which is, what is 50 degrees? 50 degrees is somewhere around 10 degrees Celsius, centigrade. But it's going to start warming up soon, and I've noticed that things are taking off in the plant room. Noticeably, my spectatissima over there, it's got like 5 new vines heading out in every direction. So the question for the comments, add it to the comments below, is what plant is taking off at your house? Which one has noticed that the days are longer and the temperatures are warmer and is really starting to reach out and could be causing good problems in a while? Add that to the comments below. And I'd like to thank you for choosing to spend a little bit of your time with me this week's end. Please remember to click that thumbs up like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell. And if you're on a mobile device, when you're all done watching and commenting, click that hype button. All those things help convince YouTube that my channel is viewable and popular and other people might like to watch it as well. And so they recommend it. It's how you can help the channel grow. A lot of the products that you've seen me use are available through my Amazon storefront. There's a link in the description, or you can scan this QR code to visit the storefront. I receive a small commission on the sales. It doesn't increase your price. It's a great way of helping the channel by buying things that you might normally purchase anyway. If you're in the market for grow lights, I have a relationship with Sansi. And if you follow the link in the description or scan this QR code and use this discount code at checkout, you'll receive a 30% discount from the prices you find on their site. I've been happy with my Sansi grow lights. They're making a difference and made a big difference this winter in the lives of some of my plants, and I think you'll be happy with their product as well. I receive a small commission on the sales, but it doesn't increase your price whatsoever. If you'd like to support the channel directly, there's a link in the description to my Buy Me a Coffee page, or you can click on this QR code. Not click on it, but use the camera thing on your phone to go to my Buy Me a Coffee page, or you can click on this thanks button down here, and YouTube handles the processing and everything to do with the thanks button. I'm going to put links to a couple more videos over on this side of the screen, and please enjoy the rest of your week's end.